police are searching for an escaped inmate this afternoon after officials with the Department of Corrections say he walked away from the Blackburn Correctional Facility early this morning.
A robber holds a mother and a grandmother at gunpoint in their home in front of two children. Coming up, we'll explain why neighbors say they have their own safety concerns about this Lexington neighborhood.
Finally talking about some rain in the forecast. This will give us some relief from the heat. I'm going to show you when you can expect that and also how much coming up in a few minutes.
This is WKYT News at Noon.
Good afternoon from WKYT News. I'm Bill Bryant.
And I'm Barbara Bailey. An inmate who escaped from a Lexington prison remains on the run this midday. Officials say Clyde Rader walked away from the Blackburn Correctional Complex just before 8 o'clock this morning.
And we have learned that this is not the first time that he has escaped. WKYT's Hillary Thornton is live with the latest on the search, and that is our top story at noon. Hillary?
Correctional complex is behind this fence here you see behind me. It is the minimum security state prison. Officials say Clyde Rader walked away from this morning. And as you mentioned, it is a place we have learned he's escaped from before. Rader is serving a 64-year sentence for convictions out of Fayette and Madison counties on charges including burglary, robbery, and escape. That previous escape charge we have learned through court documents happened back in 1997 when Rader escaped from the same prison he is now once again on the run from 19 years later. Department of Corrections officials say around 7:45 this morning, Rader walked away from the complex that sits along Spur Road, escaping into an area surrounded by several neighborhoods. He is 45 years old, described as 6 feet tall, weighing 160 pounds, with blue eyes. Rader would have been eligible for parole in December of 2019. Now, we have talked with Kentucky State Police, Lexington Police, as well as the nearby law enforcement in Scott County. Right now, no word on any specific location of an organized search going on. Live in Lexington, Hillary Thornton, WKYT.
Hillary, thank you. Now, if you have any information about where Rader might be, you're asked to contact your local police department.
The search continues this midday for a man who followed a woman into her home overnight and robbed her in front of her children. It happened around midnight on Chestnut Ridge Drive off Leestown Road. WKYT's Mark Barber has the latest on the investigation in this Crime Tracker report. Mark?
The family says everything happened so quickly their heads are still spinning. The grandmother tells me that she heard her daughter screaming outside the house. When she ran to the front door and opened it, she says a robber put a gun on her and forced his way inside. The gunman pressed his silver handgun into the grandmother's stomach and up against the mother's head. Her two children, a 5-year-old boy and a 10-year-old girl, watched as the robber grabbed the mother's purse and ran out the door. Police were not able to find him, so the terrified family left their home to find a safe place to stay.
It's not surprising at all in this neighborhood. There's a lot of crime.
If you start knocking on doors in this neighborhood off of Leestown Road on the west end of the city, you find some neighbors share very similar stories.
There was one year my house got broken into 5 times.
Sarah McIntosh is moving to Georgia this weekend. She's leaving Chestnut Ridge Drive for a warmer climate and safer environment.
Perfect time to beat feet. I mean, we've been planning it for months, and it's finally here, and it's, you know, every little thing that happens in this neighborhood is just reassurance that we're doing the right thing.
The family that was robbed says they don't know when or even if they'll move back into their home. They say they just don't feel safe here anymore. In Lexington, Mark Barber, WKYT.
Mark, thank you. And officers described the robber as a thin white man who was wearing shorts and dark-colored clothing. He's about 5 feet 8 inches tall.
We're working to learn more about the victims of a deadly crash in central Kentucky. Dispatchers say it happened around 8:30 last night on Russell Cave Road north of US 460 in Bourbon County. Only one car was involved, but the coroner says 2 males were killed in a fiery crash. So far, their names are not being released while police try to locate their close family members. We're learning more about a drowning over the weekend at Lake Cumberland. According to the Wayne County Coroner's Office, it happened in the Harmon Creek area. Witnesses say the victim was moving from one houseboat to another when he somehow slipped between the 2 boats and did not come back up. The victim has been identified this morning as Travis Martin from Hamilton, Ohio, who was vacationing with his wife and family.
Well, we're finally getting some relief from the heat this week with a daily storm threat helping to keep temperatures down. So how much rain can we expect? WKYT meteorologist Micah Harris is live in our First Alert Weather Center now with a look ahead. Micah.
Boy, do we need it. It is 89 degrees already here in Lexington, 88 if you look just southbound into Richmond. Look at Danville, Frankfort, already 90 degrees. Covington, my friends northbound, check that out on the map, 90 degrees. And if that's not impressive, check this out. It's 12:04, right? We still have about 4 more hours of heating to go, 4 to 5 more hours of heating, and we're already 100 degrees in Danville. This is your heat index, 100. Mount Sterling, Camargo, Jeffersonville, Frankfort, Peaks Mill, Stamping Ground. Go over toward Owensboro, Kentucky, and far western Kentucky. It is 109 degrees, and we're at noontime. That sounds awful over there. So hopefully we won't get that high. And I say hopefully because clouds are starting to build. You see these little blips here and there. Look across portions of, say, Bourbon County and then down toward the southeast. Yeah, we're starting to see at least some blips, and that means watch out for a few rumbles of thunder, hit and miss storms as we head throughout the rest of the afternoon. 92 is where we'll finish off at. But here comes some storms, hopefully giving us a little assistance to drop these temperatures. We're going to get into that. I'll show you how many days that we actually have the rain chances in there coming up in a few minutes.
Micah, thank you. A new law aimed at making sure deputy coroners are up to date with their state training went into effect this month. The law comes after our investigation last summer into unqualified coroners in Kentucky. We found some coroners hadn't had their training that's required to be a certified coroner in the state. After our story aired, the Kentucky Coroners Association started working on a bill to hold deputy coroners more accountable for getting training.
This is quite a change from when we first approached you last year, when we showed you the list and you had no idea.
As you remember, when we talked last year, there was a couple of us looked at it and we were amazed that these people didn't have their training.
Tonight on WKYT News at 6, we'll take a look at the new law, which officials say is a step in the right direction.
The Democratic National Convention kicks off later today in Philadelphia. The theme is United Together, but it is already getting off to a rocky start because of a new email scandal. Thousands of hacked emails from the WikiLeaks suggest DNC staffers favored Hillary Clinton over Bernie Sanders in the primaries. The FBI now confirms it is investigating the cyber attack. Debbie Wasserman Schultz says she will step down as DNC chair after the convention is over. She was booed off of a stage today. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, who will speak at the convention today, applauded her decision to resign. Michelle Obama will also be taking the stage in Philadelphia tonight. 60 delegates representing Kentucky at the DNC. Some of the delegates include former Governor Steve Beshear, as well as Louisville's Mayor Greg Fisher, State Senator Gerald Neal, and Secretary of State Allison Lundergan Grimes. Grimes is scheduled to address the convention. We have now learned that will be sometime tomorrow. Donald Trump is under fire once again for using songs without permission during the Republican National Convention.
The Rolling Stones tweeted that they do not endorse Trump and did not give permission for the use of "You Can't Always Get What You Want." Trump's daughter Ivanka walked out to the Beatles' song, "Here Comes the Sun." Harrison's family tweeted the song use was not authorized and they consider it offensive. And last week, Queen spoke out on Twitter about the unauthorized use of "We Are the Champions" for Trump's entrance. Neil Young, REM, Adele, and Aerosmith have also asked Trump to stop playing their music at his rallies. Well, if you want to weigh in on some issues around the Commonwealth, Kentucky Senator Rand Paul has planned a series of town hall meetings around the state this week. Paul will begin his string of meetings in Corbin tomorrow and then go to Harlan. On Wednesday, he'll make a stop here in Lexington and then in Shelbyville. Paul's Democratic opponent in the Senate race is holding an event tomorrow. Lexington Mayor Jim Gray's office says he will outline his plan to reinvigorate the economy in coal communities. He'll be making that address in Pikeville.
Keep it here on WKYT News. 2 people were killed and several others injured during a mass shooting at a nightclub overnight in Florida. We'll have the latest on the investigation into that coming up on Kentucky's #1 Midday News.
Also ahead, fans got a first look at several highly anticipated movies during Comic-Con this weekend. We'll take you there next on WKYT. Welcome back to WKYT News at noon. A teen party at a Florida nightclub turned tragic when gunfire erupted outside.
Police say it was not an act of terrorism. 2 people were killed, more than a dozen injured. Brooke Silva Braga has the latest.
Police gathered evidence Monday morning near a Fort Myers nightclub. Shots were fired outside Club Blue just after midnight as parents picked up their kids from a teen party. A 14 and 18-year-old are dead.
I just thank God that my daughter is okay because she could have been shot. Her dodging bullets and running, dropping between cars, it's ridiculous that these kids have to go through this. They can't enjoy themselves.
The club owner issued a statement saying armed guards were posted inside and outside the club. Police are also investigating a nearby home where they say more shots were fired. 3 people have been detained for questioning, but there is no word yet on what triggered the deadly shooting. Brooke Silva Braga for CBS News.
And the Fort Myers shooting comes a month after the mass shooting at a gay nightclub in Orlando, where a gunman opened fire and killed 49 people. A Texas officer was found shot to death at his own home just north of Austin. The Travis County Sheriff says Sergeant Craig Hutchinson's body was found earlier this morning in the backyard of his own home in Round Rock, Texas. He says the officer used his police radio to call for help shortly before 1:30 this morning. So far, no arrests have been made. Hollywood brought out the heavy hitters for this year's Comic-Con in San Diego.
Warner Brothers debuted footage from the Justice League movie and the first trailer for Wonder Woman. Marvel Studios also had some big reveals, including confirmation that Oscar winner Brie Larson will play Captain Marvel on the big screen. Marvel also featured a panel discussion with new Spider-Man actor Tom Holland and revealed the first artwork from the upcoming Spider-Man Homecoming.
Drama and excitement on the first day of the Democrats' convention. I'm Don Champion in Philadelphia with the latest coming up.
And as of right now, heat index values right there around 100 degrees for most locations, but we are starting to see a bit of some aid in the forecast with these thunderstorms. We're going to show you where they're popping up, where they're moving, coming up next.
Now, your zone-by-zone forecast with meteorologist Micah Harris.
We're also looking at a few blips in the forecast for today other than that heat. The heat is a given, 100%. We know this as we step out the door. We were talking about it the past several days. And this weekend, it was virtually dry for everybody. Most of us didn't even see any rain this weekend, but it was hot and it was humid. And now we have at least a couple of rumbles of thunder in the forecast right now. So that's going to help us out big time. Here's one that's the heavier downpour if you make your way toward the Carlisle region in Nicholas County. If you look just to the east of that, Mooresfield, that's where you're going to be seeing this rumble of thunder slide right over you, community there in the eastern portions of Nicholas County. But then look at this. Now you're talking about these temperatures. This is where it gets really, really nasty. And not just nasty, but also very dangerous in some locations. I call it dangerous because Owensboro is now at 91 degrees. Now this is far out of our viewing area. I get it. But that's a more impressive number once you see the heat index. We're in the upper 80s to around 90s already. We actually hit our high temperature about 4 to 5 p.m. in between there. Obviously, we still have some more time to actually jump those temperatures up. We're already at 100 degrees in Montgomery County, 100 in Frankfort, and Franklin County and Danville. Now, that sounds really hot, right? But look at Louisville, 102. Look at Owensboro right now at 109 degrees. It actually reached its peak, 111, just about 30 minutes ago. It dropped back down right now, but that is some nasty, nasty weather right there. You do not want that as you're walking out the door, trying to get the kids to walk around the neighborhood. Maybe the dogs will walk around the neighborhood. I would do it now because once you get in deep into the afternoon, it only gets worse. It's 92 degrees later on this afternoon. A couple of rumbles are in the forecast. There's a small chance of rain in toward 8 p.m., but I would say afternoon. It's popping up now. It'll become more numerous as we go through time. And then we hit the day tomorrow, and then the following day, and then the day after that. I mean, you're talking about multiple days in a row of at least a rain chance. Now remember this, when this front's over you, that doesn't mean continuous rain one after another. It's hit and miss. Some will see it, some will not. It's that spotty nature outside where you see the rain and your neighbor 5 miles down the road doesn't see anything. That's just the way it's going to go. Hit and miss thunderstorms for today. Heavy rain, lightning, strong winds. That's your main player. Could you be expecting any severe weather out of this? 95% of me says no. 5% of me says you can expect a stray cell because there's so much moisture, so much heat. You got the front closing in on you. There's just enough of ingredients out there to spark up a stray thunderstorm that could become severe. So that's something to watch out for. But nonetheless, even if it's not severe, it will be strong as it moves over you today and through the next few days, guys, as we sit there. Look at the temperatures. We're going from 92 today and drop it down each and every day, 84 by Friday. This Friday looks like another good chance of rain, but each and every day, at least a 40% chance of rain. So obviously it's not widespread, but it is there. And I'm actually crossing my fingers, hoping I get that rain in my house. Because it felt good the other day.
You got a shower Saturday.
I did. There were
Nobody
2
else
showers
must have
outside across the whole area that we forecast for. One of them was over my house.
And you
Lucky you.
You think you deserve
Your
that?
yard
I
needed
did deserve that.
All right. All right. Thank you. We're coming back on WKYT. DeMarcus Cousins is setting the tone for the U.S. Olympic team.
And how a former Cat bounced back from her biggest disappointment. Dave Baker's next with sports.
And as we head to break this afternoon, the major market indicators are down at midday.
In sports, we oftentimes celebrate the biggest moments and pay far too little attention to the disappointments that fuel those comebacks. Such is the case for 2 UK athletes over the weekend. Former UK hurdler Kendra Harrison missed out on her opportunity to qualify for the Rio Olympics. But on Friday night, late in London, she accomplished a much different goal. How about this? She was heartbroken over missing the U.S. Olympic team. So what does she do? She comes back in her next meet, breaks the 28-year-old world record in the 100-meter hurdles in a time of 12.20 seconds, 1/100th of a second faster than the previous record that was 12.21.
Yeah, you know, not making the Olympic team, I was just really upset, and I wanted to come out here and do what I know I could have done. You know, my coach has been behind me this whole time, and, you know, I'd like to thank God I'm healthy, and, you know, I was just coming out here with just a vengeance to show these girls what I have.
And the coach she was referring to is UK's track coach, Edric Floriel, who was with her in London. And then there's the multi-talented Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, who captured a national championship in his only season at Kentucky. But since turning pro, it seems he's battled one nagging injury after another. He missed a huge chunk of time the last 2 seasons because of a torn labrum that eventually had to be surgically repaired. And he's missed at least 20 games a year in each of the last 3 seasons. This past weekend, he was back in Lexington and said some of the best advice he's gotten during this time has come from his owner, Michael Jordan.
I talk to MJ a lot about everything about the game of basketball. Is ups and downs and ball, period. I don't care who you are or what you do, but always stay the same person, and that's definitely what I did in the pros.
And DeMarcus Cousins has received more than a fair share of criticism about his behavior, but basketball guru Dick Hoops Weiss said last night, quote, Team USA would be a matchup nightmare for any opponent with Cousins at the 5 and Kevin Durant at the 4. Cousins with a double-double Friday night against Argentina. Last night versus China, Durant and Cousins working to pick and roll in the first. Cousins gets the and one to go in the second off a miss by Paul George. Cousins pulls down the rebound, sticks it back in. The lead was 27. How about final minute and a half? Check out the spin and score from Boogie. He had 12 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists in USA's 106-57 win over China. Tonight on the Big Blue Insider with Dick Gabriel, the voice of the Wildcats, Tom Leach. That's all at 6 on 630 WLAP. Guys, one other note, Oklahoma, they'll play at Kentucky, the women, on December 1st in the SEC Big 12 Challenge. That will be a national sort of matchup. That's a look at your sports on this Monday. That'll be a good one. Much more coming on that a bit later.
Absolutely. 2 storied teams. Thank you very much, Buzz. And we hope you'll keep it here on WKYT News for the next half hour. We have a lot more coming up.
The embattled U of L president could soon learn his fate with the school.
Coming up at 12:30, we will have the latest on the search for an escaped inmate from Blackburn Correctional Facility here in Lexington.
Tomorrow's Mega Millions jackpot, $15 million. And Wednesday night's Powerball jackpot is up to $422 million.